Hello, my amazing Algebra 1 students. Let's have another summer adventure together. Today, we will continue to solve multi-step equations. And for each equation, we're going to solve it and we're going to check our answers. The first example that we're going to look at is 8 equals 1/2 times n plus 3. 1/2 times n is the same thing as n divided by 2. Multiplying by a half is the same thing as dividing by its reciprocal, which is 2. Remember, we have to get the variables on one side of the equation and the constants on the other. So I'm going to first of all undo adding 3 by subtracting 3 from each side. Eight minus 3, 5. 3 minus 3, 0. So what we have here is 5 equals n divided by 2. Well, dividing by 2, we're going to undo dividing by 2, which means we're going to multiply by 2 each side of the equation to keep everything equivalent. 2 times 5, 10. And then this 2 here, I'm going to write it as 2 over 1. And when I write it as 2 over 1, you see I could multiply the two numerators. 2 times n, 2. 1 times 2, 2. And then the 2's cancel out. So we would cross out the 2's. I'm going to be left with 1n is equal to 10. So n equals 10. Now once we get through solving this equation, we want to go back and check it. And when we check it, the first thing that we're going to do is write the original equation. So here we have the check. We're going to write the original equation. We're going to substitute for the n, the 10. And then 1/2 of 10 is 5. 5 times 3 is equal to 8. So what we've done, we've shown that each side is equal to the other side. The left side is equal to the right, and the right side is equal to the left side. So it does check. So our answer was n equals 10. We're going to look at another example. And this example is example 2. And we're going to have, let me straighten this so you can see it. We're going to have 3n divided by 5 plus 17 over 10 equals 3 over 10 minus n over 3. Now, we want to find the least common denominator. So we're going to get rid of all of the denominators. So we're going to have the fractions to deal with. So we have to find the least common denominator for 5, 10, 10, and 3. A strategy for finding the least common denominator is to take the largest denominator, which is 10, and then look at multiples until we find one that works. You see, 10 times 1 is 10. 10 will not work because 3 will not divide evenly into 10. The next multiple, 10 times 2, 20. 20 won't work because, again, 3 will not divide evenly into 20. Then we look at our other multiple, 10 times 3, 30. 30 will work because 5 will go into 30 an even number of times, and 10 and 3. So our least common denominator is 30. So we're going to multiply all 4 terms by 30. So you see that's what I'm doing here. Since I'm multiplying by fractions, I'm going to make this 30 over 1. Then I'll multiply the 2 numerators and 2 denominators. 30 times 3n, 90n. 1 times 5, 5. 30 times 17, 551. 1 times 10, 10. 30 times 3, 90. 1 times 10, 10. 30 times a negative n is a negative 30n. 1 times 3, 3. Then 5 will go into 90 18 times. So it's going to be 18 times n. 10 will go into 510 51 times. 90 divided by 10 will give us 9. 3 will go into negative 30 and negative 10. So it's going to be a negative 10n. Then we're going to, let's put our variables on the left side. We're going to undo subtracting 10 by adding 10 to each side. 18n plus 10n gives us 28n. Bring down the 51. 10n, negative 10n. Let me move this up so you can see it. Negative 10n plus 10 gives us 0. I'm going to add to get 9 plus 0 is 9. So what we have here is 28n plus 51 is equal to 9. Then we're going to undo adding 51 by subtracting 51 from each side. 51 minus 51 is 0. 9 minus 51 is a negative 42. 28n plus 0, 28n. And then we bring down the negative 42. We're looking for a positive 1n, so we're going to divide each side by 28. When we divide each side by 28, you see 28 going to 28 once, so these are going to cancel out. And then we're going to have a negative 42 divided by 28. But we're going to see if we can reduce this negative 42 over 28. 14 times negative 3 is a negative 42. 14 times 2 is 28. And remember that the 28's what cancel out to give us a 1. So what we have here is n is equal to a negative 3 halves. So we found our answer here. N is equal to a negative 3 halves. And again, once we do this, we would like to check our answer. So the way we start checking our answer is that we write the original problem. And 3n divided by 5 is the same thing as 3/5 times n. Bring down the plus 17 over 10 equals, bring down the 3 over 10. Minus n over 3 is the same as the negative 1/3 times n, because if you look in the numerator, the number that's understood to be right here in front of the n in the numerator is a 1. So it's a negative 1/3 times n. Then I'm going to substitute for n, the negative 3 halves. Then I'm going to multiply negative 3 times 3, negative 9, 5 times 2, 10. Bring down the 17 over 10. Remember, I'm trying to show that each side is equal to the other side. So it's 3 over 10 plus the negative times the negative is a positive. So it'd be positive 3 over 6. 3 over 6 reduces to a half. And a negative 9 over 10 plus 17 over 10 gives us a positive 8 over 10. We're trying to show that each side is equal to the other side. So I'm going to take that 1/2 and multiply it by 5 over 5 so that I can get a 10 in the denominator. So I have 8 over 10 equals 3 over 10. And when I multiply the two numerators and two denominators, I get 5 over 10. And we have 8 over 10 equals 8 over 10. And if you want to reduce it to lowest terms, you're going to end up with 4/5 equals 4/5. And it does check. Let's look at this cross multiplication. Let's review the cross multiplication when we're talking about solving a proportion. So if A over B equals C over D, remember now, B and D cannot be equal to 0. You cross multiply this way and this way. So AD equals BC. And we're going to use that to solve this third equation where we have here 5, y minus 5 over 3 equals y plus 5 over 8. We're going to cross multiply. And we're going to get 8 times the quantity y minus 5 equals 3 times the quantity y plus 5. We use our distributive property. We get 8y minus 40 equals 3y plus 15. We're going to subtract 3y from both sides. And we get 5y minus 40 equals 15. Then we're going to continue this. And we're going to finish solving this. And you see we end up with y equals 11. And when we check it, we're going to have 2 equals 2.